that for pure, sheer, pragmatic, geostrategic reasons, we need to have stability as the United States in an area we import 40% of our oil from, that we couldn't allow to see a Saddam Hussein destabilize the entire region, that we cannot allow this in the case of Iran, not so long, for as long as there is this source of our urgently needed oil. We need that oil, and we need these regions to be peaceful. That's why we need that presence. It ain't about the Iraqi oil. It never was. America isn't importing Iraqi oil. It's the Germans now, and the French. It isn't about the Iraqi oil. It never was. It's about the stability in this region. We couldn't allow this crazy maniac dictator who invaded Kuwait, one of our suppliers, and threatened Saudi Arabia, one of our biggest suppliers. We couldn't allow him to stay there. So if you cannot accept the humanitarian argument as to removing a guy who killed 250,000 people by means of chemical weapons, then you have to at least accept the logic, chess game type, pragmatic type approach of needing to keeping a regional stability. And our troops provide exactly for that. Obama's suggestions to withdraw there, and I agree, it's hasty. By means of a timetable, all you need to do as an insurgent is to hunker down for a few months until the timetable is reached. Americans are gone. Let's bring the whole country down in turmoil. That's what's going to happen if we withdraw hastily. In that regard, Obama's foreign policy platform is truly not just naive, but dangerous. I hate the fact that we have to have troops in this country to provide for the stability, to provide for a counterbalance versus Russia. I hate that. I hate the fact that it costs us so much money. But to not be there may cost us so much more for as long as we don't have the independence from that region. Obama mentioned many other issues where I consider him as being naive. Invading Pakistan just so he can throw out the populist argument of killing Osama bin Laden. Yeah, right. Let's do that. Let's engage in another war. I hate the fact that there are hypocrites in Pakistan who are so-called nice weather friends to us. I hate that fact. I hate the fact that they don't allow us to go in with our special forces and clean up the areas in Waziristan. But you know what? As long as that government cannot be motivated by means of diplomacy and talks, and also respect and leadership from our president, we cannot just invade that country. It's not possible. Obama said we are air raiding villages. What a disservice to our troops. That's despicable. I agree with that right-wing fanatic Hannity on that one. I agree. So, coming back to my topics on foreign policy, Obama's ideas are outright dangerous. You may also have heard, when we talk about diplomacy, oftentimes we talk about the importance of predictability, right? The art of diplomacy is based upon predictability. What I mean with that is, if you have a leader who has, let's call them shifting positions. One day he says Jerusalem is going to be an undivided capital, and the very next day, speaking to Hamas, he says, well, you can discuss that. That's what you call sending out mixed signals. When you send out mixed signals, you invite despots, terrorists, autocrats of the world to test you. If nobody knows how far Obama's flexibility stretches, they will check and try to test him on that. With McCain, you will not see that. Having said that, as much as people seem to belittle John McCain as a hawk, war guy, warmonger, under McCain we will see a significantly lower chance for war, because people know where he stands, because he's seen the misery of war firsthand. If a person sees it that close and has seen so many people, friends, die up close and personal, do you really think that guy would go easily to war? I don't think so. Think about that for a second. The guy who is promising to withdraw is actually going to be a much higher risk for war than the guy who says, let's stay there until we've won. And it looks good. It looks good. Let's talk about uniting a polarized country for a second. Don't you agree that Barack Obama has become part of the gap, part of the gorge between us? 90% of our African community are going to vote for Obama. Do you really think that all these people think his policy platforms are wiser, smarter, more intelligent? I don't think so. And what happened was, the first black president, Bill Clinton, who treated our black community outstandingly, was called a racist because he mentioned that obvious fact. He mentioned that, I don't know, 70-80% of the black people in North Carolina, South Carolina are voting for Barack Obama. And he was called a racist for it. Geraldine Ferraro was called a racist. That's not a racist remark, that's just the way it is. So Obama has on several occasions played the race card, whereas he had a chance to actually overcome the divide by pointing out the accomplishments this society has made towards a truly colorblind people. Obama has played the race card not once, not twice, many, many times during this campaign. Reminded me of O.J. Simpson quite a bit. Having said that, he has become part of the divide instead of transcending it. When you look at Obama, you don't find a common denominator other than his likability, his charm, and his ability to hold great speeches. Great. With McCain, you have at least a common denominator that pretty much everybody agrees on his service to this country. Everybody believes him. He is an honorable man who has proven his service to the country. That's a basis, at least, to unite a country. Let's look at bipartisanship, another important prerequisite of uniting a country. If you look at bipartisanship, then you have to see the percentage in the Senate. During his entire Senate career, John McCain has a 55% of bipartisanship. That's a record. A 30-year record, 55% was bipartisan legislation when he was involved. Obama has a 13% record, and he only was there for 2.5 years. If he only voted once or twice with the Republicans, or under inclusion of Republicans, he would have lifted that percentage drastically. So, who is the true bipartisan person here? Who has actually, provenly, factually reached across the aisle? John McCain. And not Obama. He's talking about bipartisanship. He's talking about reaching out. But there isn't anything there leading me to believe that he's actually done it in the past, nor is going to do it in the future. So, who is going to unite the country? And that's needed. So we talked about leadership, we talked about economy, we talked about energy, we talked about foreign policy. Let's talk about